Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Friday, May the 15th. Can everyone see and hear me okay? All signals look good on my end here. So, and let's see, we have, thank you, Paul. It's always nice to have a little confirmation. So, about 50 people here so far. So, a few people are just probably tuning in. Part of the reason I share the experience in video of Guinery every morning is because it takes a while for people to get the notifications and get themselves set up. So I set it back to 8 minutes right now. So you get 8 minutes of Guinery sounding the alarm, calling you to morning coffee. And then before jumping into the heart of the matter, it's nice to say hello, check in with people, and update people a little bit. I'm not much of a writer. We do have a website, and that's the best way to find the correct information about what's going on at the Hermitage and all things connected to the Hermitage. But everything is changing each day. So a couple bits of news on this Friday. Most importantly for the channel and the offerings that we do on our YouTube channel, I won't be doing a Saturday afternoon tea time. I was doing those before the Birkin retreat started. And so many people are participating in this morning coffee time, and it's recorded and available. In fact, I think they're all available at this point. At some point, I might start archiving some of them because there's a whole page of them now on the channel. It looks a little bit overwhelming. So, and it's meant to be a bit more of a ephemeral live opportunity for people to connect with the Sangha here at the Pacific Hermitage and get a little reflection and good cheer and connection with your fellow good friends in Dhamma, or Kalyanamitta, as we say. So no Saturday afternoon tea time. Tomorrow, 3 streams a day is enough. So we'll keep it to that for the next little bit of time. Also, reminder, this weekend, last night was what we call the Little One Pra, our lunar observance at Abhayagiri. And coming up on Sunday, I believe, at 2 p.m., they will be having a bhikkhu ordination ceremony and live streaming that on the Abhayagiri YouTube channel. Details are on the Abhayagiri website for people who are interested to see a new monk birthed into the Sangha. So it's always a special occasion. Oftentimes it only happens once or twice a year at our monastery. So that's nice to see. We have new novice, we have 2 new anagarikas, and as of Sunday, we'll have a new bhikkhu in the world at Abhayagiri. So, also, a newsletter went out from Abhayagiri recently that summarizes a few of the different streaming opportunities right now during this time of pandemic. Quite a few of the monasteries have been making efforts to offer a bit more live streams and recorded content. Even Lumpur Sumedho has been doing a periodic question and answer session in his kuti over in Thailand that's being posted, I believe, on the Amravati channel, which is over on Vimeo, but you can find it on amravati.org. Chithurst has some things. Ajahn Sudanto's doing some things. Abhayagiri's doing many things. So you guys are quick and probably aware of us already. But for those who are not, or people who listen to this later, there's a few things that you can look at. So I think everyone who wants to be here is here. So the question of the morning is, how'd you do yesterday? Did you remember? Sati is remembering. That's one of the most fundamental meanings of the word that is so often translated into English as mindfulness, which I suppose is well established enough that many people have some sense of what that word means. Many people, including myself, have always thought it a funny translation, mindfulness. Awareness doesn't quite get it. Mindfulness doesn't quite get it. I've been a proponent of people adopting this word sati. If you're a dedicated practitioner, it's one of the 100 or so Dhamma Pali words that one should know and adopt into your own language. So the question of the morning is, did you remember? How often did you remember to evoke the frame of the 5 hindrances? And how so? Like in everyday experiences, did it come back to you in your mindfulness? Or did you make even more of it and reflect on it when you sat down to meditate? Or maybe even more so, practicing mindfulness of the mind, chittanupassana. So 4 of the most common mind states described in the chittanupassana are hindrances, although delusion is one of the words that comes up, which is a bit more global than doubt, skeptical doubt, which is the 5th of the 5 hindrances. Just to share a little bit of my own practice, the one that was most dominant in my mind all through the day yesterday was restlessness. And restlessness is interesting. It very, very moderate and even subtle aspects of restlessness. An ordinary person wouldn't necessarily think of them as a problem or a hindrance. But remember what we talked about yesterday. We want to think about these things as the things that are weighing us down, the things that are clouding and obstructing the luminous mind. Things that are obstructing these beautiful states of mind that we long for. We long for joy. We long for clarity. We long for an experience of stability of mind. Our mind is shaking, reverberating with its concerns about the sense world, views, opinions, bouts of frustration, annoyance, anger, ill will, and then the energy levels not being optimal or balanced rob us from the connection of the kind of wholesome energy that these qualities of mind of joy, happiness, tranquility, equanimity bring to us. And I think a lot of where we go wrong is the separation from that kind of emotional experience. I think that plays a very big role in this kind of subtle sense of discontent and lack that threads itself through our conscious experience. So, as we were reflecting yesterday, it's very important to return to this model of asking yourself, what's keeping me from the experience of joy? What's keeping me from this kind of easy expression of goodwill, loving kindness, positivity, contentment, generosity, equanimity? And the Buddha's answer is the hindrances. So we do well to really internalize a practice of recollecting that and checking in on that, as Ajahn Sona is very good at admonishing us awareness is not enough. It's a particular kind of awareness that we're really after in the Buddhist path of practice. And this is definitely one of them. Sensitivity and awareness of their presence and also of their absence. And you might be in the presence of one of them, and you can still delight the fact that others are absent. And it doesn't have to be complicated. I think a lot of the difficulty, even people that have been introduced to this teaching on the five hindrances have in implementing it is they're not really clear. They're not really sure how important certain hindrances are. And also maybe they just haven't got a workable strategy for themselves to recollect them and to practice noticing their occurrence, their maintenance, their disappearance. So we need to be students of that, so that we can get to the beautiful mind and the beautiful emotional experience that we all long for. So I didn't see many answers here for how people did yesterday. I saw a couple. Let's see. Before I go into a sutta I'd like to share with you this morning, let me look back here. The British created the word mindfulness. Yes, you are right. Gold star for you, Alexander. And let's see. Yes, awareness. I think you mean awareness is really helpful there, Moria. But yes, awareness. I'd like to hear more about what the British made in their translations. Well, that's a longer discussion for another day. And Alexander, I noticed sloth and torpor. My rendering is drowsiness, dullness, and depression. And then restlessness in the morning. Very good. Good to notice those things. Alexander, you don't like my word lethargy? Mental lethargy. Or I just say lethargy. So, let's see and share. I remembered throughout the day and noted annoyance because an unexpected event came up and I found that irritating. So ill will. Yeah, well, you might remember Ajahn Sona's wonderful suggestion when you get up in the morning to prepare yourself for the unexpected. It will come. And you'll say, and it will then be less unexpected. It's like, this is the unexpected thing. Is this the unexpected thing I was waiting for today? That I shouldn't be surprised. We shouldn't be surprised that we don't know what's ahead. Life is anicca. Let's see a few more. Patty, I remember to notice when I was not being present in one of the Brahma Viharas. Then looked at the hindrance that was present. Very good. And here we go. I realized I have a lot more restlessness and worry than I had imagined. Marilyn. Yeah, Marilyn, I had one of my very first insights before I was even really a committed Buddhist. I was still a student at the University of Oregon, and I had been doing a yoga class through the university. And at the very end of each yoga class, the teacher would have us move to the side of the room and sit against the wall and do some breath meditation. She gave some very basic instruction on how to do the breath meditation. And I was lousy at the yoga, and I was even worse at the meditation. And in fact, I got a D in yoga at the University of Oregon. It's there in my transcript. But that's another story. Uh, I should have never become a monk. I nearly failed yoga. But anyways, uh, I was really interested in yoga. And so that was my first foray into trying to find some way to get out of the books and get into my body and get into some sort of engagement with body and mind as it relates to a spiritual path. And the insight was interesting, just leaving the yoga class one day. And again, I hadn't been doing anything profound. Everybody else was more flexible and better and probably more focused than me. But I was trying my best. And I was leaving the class one day and walking across the campus, clear across to the, I don't know, what's it, the east side of campus where the art buildings were. And there was just a little moment of self-awareness that I felt a bit more centered, a bit more energized than normal. And this was a shocking revelation to me, that one could be relaxed and energetic at the same time, or could feel a sense of ease and an enhanced sense of energy all at the same time. And that's probably why it caught my attention, because I didn't spend much time paying attention to my body or even my emotional states, that part of my life. And almost immediately after that arising in awareness, there was this sense of where my mind normally was at. And this is such an important part of why it is we meditate, is so that we have the ability to compare and contrast a more wholesome state of mind with maybe some of the more regular states of minds that we're encountering, as well as the unwholesome states of mind that plague our lives. And so it was just automatic. This, all of a sudden I realized, after apprehending this sense of energetic peacefulness, how much anxiety and worry was there in my life. And really, there was no good reason for it. I was doing exactly what I wanted to do with my life. I had great friends. I had enough money to do everything I wanted to do. I really had nothing to complain about. And from my estimation, not any of the normal burdens that a lot of people face in their life. And that really kind of shocked me. And I thought, wow, I've really got to do something about this mind. Because life is probably only going to get more challenging, and who knows what's up ahead. Wife, kids, job. So anyways, that was we could call that my first insight. And that played a big role in propelling me forward and inspiring me to eventually take up practice more seriously and ordain. So, okay, well, we have a bunch more. Charles, noticing hindrances several times, and this morning, hindrances can be so subtle. One thinks that the mind is fine, but looking beneath the surface, there are multiple hindrances going on. Yes, mostly restlessness, anxiety, very low level. Yes, they come in 3 flavors: subtle, moderate, and extreme. Or 3 sizes. Maybe it's like, what are the Starbucks sizes? I think the small one's grande, and it goes up from there to venti or something. And the hindrances come in 3 sizes, the way I think about it. So, and that's why Carolyn, that's why I think it's good to reflect on what it is that they're obscuring, because a normal person doesn't see these as such a problem, especially the subtle forms of them. A subtle form of mental lethargy, a subtle form of restlessness, a little bit of sense desire, a little bit of annoyance, or a little bit of ill will. Now I've become very sensitized to this. Like, the thought of harboring ill will for another person just seems to me the most unskillful, destructive thing one can do. It's just senseless. I mean, I understand how we get there, but it's just senseless to acquiesce to allowing yourself in full consciousness to harbor ill will for another person. And yet, it's very common. Some people even cherish the experience of it. So, all right. Well, there is so much here. I'm not going to get through it all. And I did want to share a sutta with you today. So I'm sorry if I didn't get to everyone's comments here. So, keeping on the theme of the hindrances, I can't help it. Michelle has a very interesting thing here. As a yoga teacher, I currently sense the arising that your former yoga teacher would grade you as almost failing. I wonder if the failing wasn't the teacher's. No, it wasn't. It wasn't her teacher. So part of it was we were supposed to keep a yoga journal, and I didn't, and she docked me pretty heavily for that. So, and part of the yoga journal was, I guess, to prove that you were keeping up with your practice at home, which I wasn't. So that's the short version of the story. Okay, so let's go back. I would like to read through a sutta this morning, and this one is nice. Again, it's kind of macro, our big frame, and it underscores one of the big points Ajahn Sona was making during our retreat, especially when talking about Dhamma categories, the fourth of the Satipatthanas. He said you really could simplify it down and focus in on the 5 hindrances and the cultivation of the 7 factors of awakening. And I think it fits nice with the discussion we had yesterday, thinking, really priming ourselves and investigating hindrances as the thing that is keeping us from the more skillful, wholesome states of mind that we long for and, in fact, need to develop the Buddha's Eightfold Path. So this is a very famous sutta, and let me switch over into sutta sharing mode. Again, I'm going to pull this up from suttacentral.net. So this one is from the Linked Discourses, book 46, I guess, called With Saṅgārava. And if you want to write that down, you can go read this for yourself a little bit later. There's a lot. There's a lot in this. Just to set it up, the Buddha has an encounter with a Brahmin, for which the sutta is named. And he's kind of asking why it is that we can't remember things. So it's a very secular question. And the Buddha has a lot of exchanges like this that we find in the suttas are quite interesting. So, he's wandering around. He comes into the presence of a Brahmin who greets him. And then he's like, what is the cause, Master Gotama? What is the reason why sometimes even hymns that are long practiced don't spring to mind, let alone those that are not practiced? And why is it that sometimes even hymns that are long unpracticed spring to mind, let alone those that are practiced? So why is it that we can remember things sometimes, and why is it that we can't? Why is it we forget things? And the Buddha says the hindrances. The hindrances are obstructing that faculty of mind. Brahman, there's a time when your heart is overcome and mired in sensual desire, and you don't truly understand the escape from sensual desire that has arisen. At that time, you don't truly know or see your own good, the good of another or the good of both. Even hymns that are long practiced don't spring to mind, let alone those that are not practiced. Suppose there was a bowl of water that was mixed with dye, such as red lac, turmeric, indigo, or rose madder. Even a person with good eyesight checking their own reflection wouldn't truly know or see it. It is the same way when your heart is overcome, mired in sensual desire. And there's elision there, so we're not repeating everything from one of the previous formulas there. Even hymns that are not long practiced don't spring to mind, let alone those not practiced. Furthermore, when your heart is overcome and mired in ill will, even hymns that are long practiced don't spring to mind, let alone those that are not practiced. Suppose there was a bowl of water that was heated by fire, boiling and bubbling. Even a person with good eyesight, checking their own reflection, wouldn't truly know it or see it. So for anger, the second of the hindrances, boiling water. In the same way, when your heart is overcome and mired in ill will, even hymns that are long practiced don't spring to mind, let alone those that are not practiced. Furthermore, when your heart is overcome and mired, furthermore, when your heart is overcome and mired in dullness and drowsiness, even hymns that are long practiced don't spring to mind, let alone those that are not practiced. Suppose there was a bowl of water overgrown with moss and aquatic plants. Even a person with good eyesight, checking their own reflection, wouldn't truly know it or see it. And then the same phrase of how it's obstructing the mind. Furthermore, when your heart is overcome and mired in restlessness and remorse, suppose there was a bowl of water stirred by the wind, churning, swirling, and rippling. Even a person with good eyesight checking their own reflection wouldn't truly know it or see it. In the same way, when your heart is overcome and mired in restlessness and remorse, even hymns that are long practiced don't spring to mind, let alone those that are not practiced. Furthermore, when your heart is overcome and mired in doubt, even hymns that are long practiced don't spring to mind, let alone those that are not practiced. Suppose there was a bowl of water that was cloudy, murky, and muddy, hidden in the darkness. Even a person with good eyesight, checking their own reflection, wouldn't truly see it. In the same way, there's a time when your heart is overcome and mired in doubt, and you don't truly understand the escape from doubt that has arisen. At that time, you don't truly know or see your own good, the good of another, or the good of both. Even hymns that are long practiced don't spring to mind, let alone those that are not practiced. This is the cause, Brahman. This is the reason why sometimes even hymns that are long practiced aren't clear to the mind, let alone those that are not practiced. There's a time when your heart is not overcome and mired in sensual desire, and you truly understand the escape from sensual desire that has arisen. At that time, you truly know and see your own good, the good of another, and the good of both. And even hymns that are long unpracticed spring to mind, let alone those that are practiced. And he goes back through the positive thing of the water being clear, water that's not mixed with dye or lac. And then for anger and ill will, water that is not heated by fire, boiling and bubbling. For dullness, a bowl of water that is not overgrown with moss and aquatic plants. For restlessness, a bowl of water that is not stirred by the wind, churning, swirling, and rippling, so that you can see your reflection and truly know it. And furthermore, when your heart is not overcome and mired in doubt, there's a bowl of water that was transparent, clear, unclouded, and brought into the light. A person with good eyesight, checking their own reflection, would truly know it and see it. In the same way, there's a time when your heart is not overcome and mired in doubt, and you truly understand the escape from doubt that has arisen. At that time, you truly know and see your own good, the good of another, and the good of both. Even hymns that are long unpracticed spring to mind, let alone those that are practiced. This is the cause, Brahman. This is the reason why sometimes even hymns that are long unpracticed do spring to mind, let alone those that are practiced. That's just a very secular reflection. The hindrances are keeping you from being your best, your better self. They're obstructing positive qualities of mind, desires quality of mind. But here, the sutta ends, moving into something even more lofty. These seven awakening factors, so these are the bojjhangas, are not obstacles, hindrances, or corruptions of mind. When developed and cultivated, they lead to the realization and fruit of knowledge and freedom. What seven? The awakening factors of mindfulness, investigation of principles, energy, rapture, tranquility, immersion, and equanimity. These seven awakening factors are not obstacles, hindrances, or corruptions of the mind. When developed and cultivated, they lead to the realization of the fruit of knowledge and freedom. When he said this, Saṅgārava said to the Buddha, "Excellent Master Gotama. From this day forth, may the Master Gotama remember me as a lay follower who has gone for refuge for life." So it has a real quick return to the positive qualities of mind, and the Buddha doesn't really. Sometimes in these suttas, then they'll go through and there'll be a whole repetition working with the positive. But one of the reasons I thought to share this today is it does underscore Ajahn constant refrain of the importance of right effort. And, we can tie right effort directly to this. Right effort is being able to recognize unskillful states of mind and resolving them or overcoming them. Recognizing these seven awakening factors and sustaining them, deepening them, nourishing them, doing the things that will help lead to the increase of their arising, their strengthening, their maturation. And that's the essence of right effort. And the Satipatthana gives us a whole array of strategies for operationalizing that and putting that into practice in our life. And so, if you're wondering what to do with the hindrances, one thing is just to take these similes and images to heart to try to get a deeper sort of sense of what each of these might be doing to cloud the mind or obstruct some of the positive qualities that we're looking for. And in particular, these seven factors of awakening, which are not hindrances. So you can just simply note sometimes if the hindrance isn't very strong that it's present, and then sometimes replace that with one of the factors of awakening, mindfulness being one of them, or investigation of Dhamma, or sometimes we can just slide effortlessly to joy or contentment and resolve that. Or if we're feeling aversion and anger or ill will, sometimes we can notice that and then put forth the effort to move to forgiveness, to goodwill, or to equanimity, and then note the absence of that hindrance. So we're a little bit over time here, and I guess it is Friday, so some people might have to go to work. I'm not going to have any time for follow-up questions or comments, but again and again, we can use this morning time to reconnect and share some Kalyanamitta and friendship, and remind ourselves to keep these things in mind as we move through the day and deepen our competency in being able to sense them and respond in an appropriate way for our betterment and the development of the path. So thank you for joining me, and see you all tomorrow morning for morning coffee time. So be well.